explosion at Madina-Atomic Junction here in Accra. And they want to tell their story. Let's hear what they have to say.
He is also the Deputy Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency in charge of technical issues. And then we have Mr. Ransford Seji, also in charge of intersectoral network. Give us some remarks about the issues, supported by his able technical team. Then we'll be very happy to take some questions, and we'll also give you a wonderful feedback. One of us is entering, is Mr. Kabina Bedu-Yagwa, also another strong technical man, who will be aiding the executive director when the questions and answer session starts. I am sure you are aware that, except for those recording with their mobile phones, all of us should have to switch off our mobile phones or put it on vibration so that we'll have a peaceful press conference. Without much ado, I'd like to call on Mr. Abun Sarkodie to set the ball rolling. Thank you very much for coming and your attention.
Thank you, Madam Angelina. Colleagues, staff, and media personnel present, let me say good afternoon to you all. And thank you for honoring our call to this press conference. I know many of you were at the scene of the gas explosion at the Atomic Junction on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Many of you have also been very anxious to get EPA's position on the sad occurrence. Today's press conference is of grave concern to this agency because a terrible tragedy has befallen on our city. The accident of 7th October has actually left sour taste in the mouth of Ghanaians, and subsequent days have been one of great anticipation, fear, and sorrow for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, shall we have a moment of silence for our dead, especially the journalist who met his untimely death performing a noble act. We also offer our sincerest sympathy and apologies to the bereaved families, those who have suffered, the injured, and those who have lost one livelihood or the other. On my own behalf and on behalf of the board, management, and staff of this agency, we identify with this grief and plead with you media personnel to help us confine and direct this tragedy so that people's mood will not evolve into a sense of despair and futility. Our main concern as an agency is making sure Ghanaians are safe. On Sunday early morning, the Sector Minister, Honorable Professor Frimpong Boateng, my good self, and a team of officers from the EPA visited the site. Upon arrival, we observed that the Mansco gas refilling and total fuel service stations that were involved in the accident had actually been crowded with a large group of people from all walks of life. The EPA is yet to conduct an investigation to come out with the cause of the incident and make recommendations to forestall such happenings. What does the law or guidelines say about situating an LPG gas refilling stations in residential areas? I believe that most people are concerned with this. Currently, there is no law in the country that spells it out clearly that fuel service and LPG refilling stations should not be sited in residential areas. However, the guidelines for the establishment and operations of these facilities indicated where these facilities can be sited. In the case of fuel filling stations, they can be sited in either commercial, mixed-used areas or residential areas. However, the guidelines set separating distances when it comes to facilities like churches, hospitals, and schools. That is for new projects. According to the guidelines, LPG stations can only be sited in light and heavy industrial areas. Based on these, EPA's measures or plans are both externally and internally connected. Externally, EPA has resolved to work closely with all the stakeholders, such as NPA, that is the National Petroleum Authority, Fire Service, Town and Country Planning Departments, Association of Oil Marketing Companies, and so on. Internally, the agency has constituted a technical team to review all applications from the regions to improve the quality assurance. Furthermore, staffing, expertise, resources required to do the work will be enhanced. Now, having said this, I would want us to take a look at EPA's criteria in granting permits for petroleum products, retail outlets, that is fuel service stations, and liquefied petroleum gas stations, LPG. Now, proponents or a proponent applies for environmental permit by submitting the environmental assessment registration form, which we call Form EA1, with the following attachments. 1, the site plan. 2, the block plan. 3, the no objection letter from the National Petroleum Authority. And 4, neighborhood consultation forms. So basically, these are the four steps that the individual applicant goes through. Now, 2, EPA officers visit the site to undertake screening of the site to verify the information provided in the form EA1. Whereafter, officers also check to find out and confirm the names and telephone contacts of the neighbors. The next point, EPA then writes to request the Town and Country Planning Department of the District Assembly to furnish the agency with the zoning status. Then, EPA invoices the proponent to pay for the processing fee, which is not refundable. 5, the applicant is then subjected to a review by the Technical Review Committee, TRC, with representatives from key stakeholder institutions. The next point is that the applicant may be declined or approved. So when you submit, you can either be refused based on our own assessment of the contents of your application. When approved, the permit schedule is prepared by the regional director and is forwarded to the head office for quality assurance. If everything is okay, it is finally approved and proponent is invoiced to pay the permit fee. Finally, the permit is issued to the proponent. Now, let me emphasize that the permit is valid for 18 months, after which it has to be renewed. So this is the procedure a proponent goes through before the permit is issued to him. Now, permit renewal requirements. The proponent submits annual environmental report, AER, which provides information on operations of the station, especially the safety requirements. And then EPA officers visit the facility to carry out assessment and audit based on the information provided in the AER. Assessment report is provided as a result, and the TRC meeting is organized to review the application, and if found satisfactory, the processing and permit invoices are issued. Once both are paid, the permit is issued for the proponent to continue to operate the facility. If, on the other hand, there are violations observed during the audit and assessment, the proponent is given time to fix the issue, after which the permit is renewed. Now we have to do monitoring the facilities. Now, under this, the agency monitors these permitted facilities anytime there is a renewal of their permit. However, in between these, compliance monitoring exercises are carried out to check their level of compliance to safety or permit conditions. Now, many of you will recall the June 3rd disaster at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. So perhaps people are wondering what the EPA is doing thereafter. Now, so what is EPA doing different after the June 3rd incident and the lessons learned? I think that is very important. It was observed that facility operators do not have the technical skills to man these outlets, both at the supervisory level and also by the pump attendants due to...
You must imagine that if both sides know that they are party to information, then they have changed their...
It becomes clear that there was the need for all the regulators to work closely together to ensure safety. The first thing was to review the guidelines for the establishment and operation of petroleum product retail outlets in Ghana. The objective was to reduce the proliferation of the fuel stations and LPG stations in the urban areas. Composition of multi-stakeholders committee membership. We are talking about forming a multi-stakeholder committee to deal with the menace. And we have identified the following institutions as very important constituents. First of all, we have the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. And then we have Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, our good self. We have the Town and Country Planning Department. Let me use the current name. It is now called Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. That is the current designation of the erstwhile Town and Country Planning. Ghana National Fire Service, GNFS, Factories Inspectorate Department, FID, and finally, Association of Oil Marketing Companies. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that we all have a shared responsibility to manage the environment. Let me also again emphasize that the EPA has a complaint desk and it is readily available to address your concerns. So, members of the press, you will help us put this complaint desk on the media so that it becomes most accessible to all meaning Ghanaians in respect of our quest to addressing our environmental complaints. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you all and say God bless you. Thank you very much.
Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, we've all heard it from the horse's own mouth. But before we continue with our session in respect to the questions and answers, we have with us one of our board members, Dr. Osmond Ansah Asare, who is
he's a professor.
Sorry, sir. Professor Osmond Ansah Asare, who is with the CSIR. And so, Prof, if you can, you can see how EPA attaches importance because parents with us are not the other ones we attach importance with. So, we'll be readily available for your questions. As I mention your name and the news, the media house you're coming from, and then you shoot with your question. Shoot so that you don't fail us. Okay. We'll take 5, and then we'll answer the 5, and then we'll go with the 5. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Any lady? 3. Fourth one. Who is the fourth one? The 5. You come with us. Okay. I'll tell her that. Please.
Thank you. My name is Madina-Atomic. I work for the Ghana News Agency. Thank you all for very good insightful presentation. My question is, I have 2 questions. First, EPA and other regulatory bodies have been accused of failing to enforce regulatory standards because in fear of being maybe sabotaged by unseen forces. Will you get my question? That you fail to enforce this regulatory standard because you fear some of you in EPA, National Petroleum Authority, and other regulatory bodies fear that Probably these stations or filling stations are owned by politicians and people in high authority. So if you enforce this regulation, probably it will be sabotaged. I want your comment on this. Then my second question is, over the years, there has been lack of coordination. That's what people say, that there is lack of coordination among regulatory bodies. And so because of that, you fail to enforce these safety standards. Even though you talked about it in your presentation, but I want you to highlight on it. And finally, you also mentioned that you have reconstituted a technical team to enforce or improve on quality assurance. I want you to tell us your terms of reference for this committee. Thank you very much.
Yes, the next speaker, please.
Yes, my name is David Queno. I report for WBLS Radio London. I would like to know whether...
Can you give us the full acronym of the W?
That's the world's best listening station, WBLS.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to know how in the closure of some filling stations, because I quite remember you closed a number of gas filling stations who failed to meet the standards of your requirements. But we keep seeing this accident. Does that mean EPA is not well resourced with the modern methods to deal with this kind of situations? Are you well resourced? Are you applying the modern safety methods? And share with us what are some of the modern ones you have. Thank you very much.
There have been several complaints from residents over the years, several of which have been published in the newspapers and TVs. Are you saying that this necessarily has to come from complaints that if you act in their absence? Two, from 2015, which you said some individuals blame regulatory authorities for not acting properly. To today, where we have another incident of gas situation, has their complaints, according to you at the time, been responded very rapidly? Because we still have the incidents, we still at EPA overseeing the gas stations, overseeing the explosions that we have.
The fifth speaker, please.
And I'm the fifth. Thank you. Please, my name is Madina-Atomic from ATV. Mr. Secretary, please, I would like to know, you made mention of applicants who submit one together with the site plan. I want to know that if you receive the site plan, do you do any survey? And if you do, what kind of survey or what do you consider in your survey? Thank you.
Yes, the fifth.
Yeah, my name is Ernest from JoyNews. Yes, sir, madam. You took us through the process of acquiring the permit and also the process of renewing your permit, which involves cross-checking information provided and also making sure they are adhering to standards. That once the renewal process starts, it goes also to the NPA. Want to know if they apply to they got to the UPSA just before the UPSA, behind their lecture theater. They've been protesting this for about 3 years now. Has this come to your attention? What are you doing? Are you launching investigation into that as well? What do we need?
Yes, thank you very much for your very relevant and important questions. As I mentioned, there are technical men here who will be responding to some of the questions. So I'd like to throw it in one of the EPA team here to answer the questions that have been asked, so that we give a rest to the executive director.
All the questions.
Yeah, answer the question.
Let me read it. The last one. Very close to UPS. If you would recall, we are saying that currently there is no law in the country that spells it out clearly that fuel stations and LPG filling stations should not be sited in residential areas. Have you gotten it? So there's no law. So to the ordinary man in the street, all you people are looking for is that perhaps there is a fuel station or LPG station, and the close neighborhood has a lot of maybe residential facilities there, and you think that perhaps that is against a particular law. But here we are telling you that there's no law. So the fact that UPA, the university is there, it doesn't debar maybe an operator to also apply for a permit, first of all, from the former town and country planning. You see, they would have to give the land title, the land permit for him to do his citation, his citing. So the law is not there for us to say that no, this is EPA block and therefore you cannot on the adjacent side put up your station. So there's no law. We cannot stop it.
In other words, sales.
Excuse me, can you let's take our answers and then we can continue with your follow-up question, okay?
Can I do a follow-up?
No, please. You ask that question. Were you the one yeah, you can have a follow-up, but you cannot. You didn't ask the question. Thank you.
So I know that there's supposed to be a distance. The NPA did mention that whereas there's no law that bans siting fuel stations in residential areas, there's supposed to be a distance. Now this one is directly behind a lecture theatre, a huge one. And so that is why I want to know if the EPA is aware of this, if you did grant them the permit to go ahead to operate that, operate that fuel station, and yeah.
Well, thank you for this. I think that we have to approach these things that we have our positions. There are issues at this time. Everybody feels very strong about your positions and things, but we need to situate the discussions within what the practice is, what the guidelines allow us to do. I'll take the issue about the coordination among the institutions. Following June 3rd, the regulatory authorities constituted what we call the multi-stakeholder committee, which is hosted by the MPA. And the first thing they did was to look at all the guidelines, the existing guidelines, and revise it, and came out with a new guideline, which is now being applied. And that committee sort of serves as the clearinghouse for all issues that come, even including complaints. Where there are complaints, the ones that we think that should be done in a stakeholder fashion, we refer to them, and they take it up, investigate it, visit the sites, and then come out with some measures that need to be undertaken. Usually, some of the complaints come in the form of go and close it down. We are regulators. We don't just get up and go and close down things. It has to be valid. We need to have grounds to be able to do that. I know cases where we've even closed them down, asked them to do certain things. We go back, check, and if we are satisfied, then we open it up. There are cases we can cite without being very specific to the various stations. But there was one in Pukwasi we had to I personally even visited the site, So we do follow up on some of these things within that fashion. There are others that we refer, and then the committee will go to the site, look at it, and make a recommendation to the various agencies. We also talked about the technical team that we've put in-house to help us review all the new applications that are coming in. The committee will also look at the existing ones when they are due for renewal. What will happen is that when the applications are received in the regions, they will go through the process the executive director has outlined, and then it will be forwarded to the head office. And then this committee would look at it which wasn't there before. But given the situation we find ourselves in, this is an additional layer we are introducing. It might lead to some delays in the permitting process, which some of you also are concerned about. But if that is what will cure some of these problems, we'll do that. But I think we should begin to look at beyond permits. You see, the permit is one. It helps us to prevent some of the issues. But where it's on the field, where the operators are operating. You know, we can visit, which we do. But when you have left, when you are not there, there's a responsibility on the operator to ensure that what is operating is safe and sound. Okay, so that's where we all have a duty to, and in this one we will ask every one of us to be part of the process. If you notice that there's an anomaly at a station, I think it's only fair that you let the regulators know, and then we can also go in, because we are not everywhere. Okay, so that's one thing that I can talk about. There was a question about how far with some of the stations that we closed, what happened. I don't know whether Willie you want to take that.
I think
the modern method.
We had to close a number of stations. Even this year, we closed a number of them, LPG in particular. Because during our audits and assessments, we realized that some of the safety control measures that has to be, applied were not up to scratch. So we closed a number of them. Do I have to be specific here?
Yeah, give an example, one or two examples,
yeah,
and the locations.
We have to give. Last year, for one, we closed Mamba Gas at Santa Maria. I think prior to the closure, if any of you had gone there, you could see that it's an LPG refilling plant. But then he had converted the place into, something you could not describe. We could count as many as about 10, 20-footer containers there, a number of empty, storage tanks, we call them vessels. But these empty tanks, no matter how empty it is, it still contains some residual product. So should there be any naked fire, it takes three things for fire to occur at the stations. You have the fuel, either the white product or the LPG, that is the fuel. You have air, that is abundant. So the next component that has to happen has to do with heat. Any source of ignition, once that happens, fire will occur. And so that's why the permit that we give, we indicate that there shouldn't be any fire around the area of operation. But when we got to that location, it was said that should there be any eventuality, the whole Santa Maria community was going to be blown up. And so we had to close that station for as long as, he needed to put those safety interventions in place. I think it took 1.5 months. Then he wrote to us that all the issues we asked him to put in place, he's done that. So a team had to move down. We went to do the inspection, and we were convinced that now he has evacuated all those things that we asked him to do. And also some of the safety controls, the water sprinkler system at the time was not functioning. And so if there was fire, there was no way they could start the fighting before fire service got there. And all these things had been fixed. Following that, we had to charge him a penalty, after which we opened the station for operations. This year, May, April, as we did the compliance, Mamba Gas again, that's Odoko, we had to close it down. Then Anandel Gas at Industrial City, that's the Jessel, when going to Kaswa on the right-hand side. There is an Industrial City there. When we got there, the safety controls were not up to scratch. So we had to close those stations and write to them to fix the shortcomings, which they both did. In the case of Mamba Gas, they had tampered with the vessel, the neck of the vessel. We realized that it had been worked on
For us to be convinced that the integrity of the tank was intact, we needed to get them to do what we call hydrostatic pressure testing. And this is conducted by Factories Inspectorate Division. They have that expertise. They will put water into the tank, they fill it and subject it to pressure. So if there's any defect on the tank or on the pipings, this will show to indicate that the tank is not safe to carry the product. And therefore, we got them to do that. The Factories and Inspectorate did the hydrostatic pressure. When they finished, they gave the certificate and the report to Mambaga because they commissioned them. And they forwarded and wrote to us that what we asked them to do, they've been able to fix. So they want us to come back and inspect. So a team of us, staff here, we went there and we checked it had been corrected. Then we reopened for operations. So that has been the approach. We are partners in development. We are not to sabotage development, but what we insist is that, development of businesses are done, say that there wouldn't be any, environmental hazard to the community and also even to the operators. We can cite a number of them. Citaflow.
I think we need to. So you can wrap up and then we continue.
When the Labadi incident happened, there is another station adjacent. When we got there, we realized that the whole place was weedy. Safety had been compromised, so we shut the facility. I think for about 6 months, they kept knocking our doors. We referred the matter to the multi-stakeholder committee to take it up. So they got a consultant to carry out what we call risk assessment of the facility. And all the shortcomings were identified and given to them to fix. They were telling us, so they've closed down for far too long, and so they were losing revenue. Then we said, human lives, can we quantify? And so long as you are unable to fix them, it remains closed. Now, if any of us should move there, you see that it has become a model that we can use to, run the other stations. Or he's fixed everything. Now when you go there, the situation has changed completely. And so that is how we operate. We want to emphasize on the safety more than the location. That has been a concern to us. Thank you.
Any unanswered question?
Yes, mine is not fully answered.
Which one was?
The modern gadgets.
Share with us what are some of them.
Oh, okay.
The modern methods.
Yeah. In the past, when you go to the station, when they are taking delivery, as in this case happened, they use a truck that has come with the product to, as it were, push the product from the BRT. We call it the bulk road transport. That's the truck that brings the product to the station. They use the same engine in pushing the product out. But as the engine is running, sparks are coming out. So with the least, naked fire, it will be inflamed. And therefore, what we've told them to do now, every station will have to make provision for separate or stationary compressor that will be used in pushing the product from the BRT onto the storage tank. Also, in the past, we were not asking the outlets to provide what we call the foam tanks. It was limited to the storage tanks, the big depots. But now, fire has told us that water alone cannot fight the gas fires, and therefore there's the need to compel the outlets to make provision for foam tanks. That one, they connect it to the sprinkler system. And therefore, once you are taking product, you activate that tank. So should there be any leakage, the water, once you activate, it will suppress the gas, and therefore it wouldn't escape to cause, accident as we experienced. So these are some of the interventions we're bringing on board. Thank you.
Yes, which one is that?
I asked what sub review conduct before.
He's going to answer.
Let me take that. The executive director explained that that's part of the procedure. When you receive the application, it comes with the site plan. So officers in the regions will visit the site, look around to compare the information provided on the form, or they do a verification as to whether the information they provided are accurate. And also talk to neighbors around the area, and then take measurements where it's necessary. And then after that, a report is prepared, we call the screening report. And based upon that, recommendation is made, either to issue a permit, decline a permit, or any other thing that has to be done. So, yes, we don't sit in the office. If I give you a typical LPG or fuel service station file, maybe I'll have to get one for you, some of you to verify. You will realize the kind of processes that we go through before a permit is issued. So we do go to the field. And then let me also look at, there was a question on whether they have renewed their permits. I think somebody asked that, yes. In fact, yes, they haven't gotten the permit yet, but they were in the process of renewal, and then this thing happened. So they started the process, but the permit has not been renewed yet.
The first 5, have we answered your question? Your political influences, that one, Honorable Ayariga spoke about it on Joy FM.
But I want, okay,
let me say. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me say that EPA believes that it is mandated by an act of parliament. So we are not to be intimidated by any political influence. We will not do that. So that is the assurance I can give to all of you.
And then
this is the new EPA.
Before the next.
So ask questions to the new EPA.
Before the next round of questions, I think those of you who are interested, we have a copy of the new guideline. So if you are interested,
yeah, we have to give all of them copies.
Yes,
actually,
you can have
yes, we should run it for them.
Yeah, but it's
Please, are we okay with the first round? The second round, please. I need a lady. I need a lady. You haven't 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Did you raise your hand? Please shoot, not to kill.
Okay. I'm Lansford. I work for JoyNews television. I think in the absence of law, safety shouldn't be compromised. The law is made for man, so we should take hold of it. That said, I think EPA, MPA, and all stakeholders, as far as citing petrol filling stations or LPG gas stations, haven't done this country any good. Why do I say this? My friend asks you concerning safety measures. Here is a university, and look at where the LPG gas station is situated.
It's a fuel, not LPG.
Good. Let's say fuel is situated. And if you go to other stations, they are right, in the residence. But we're saying that there is no law. So as institutions, can't you do something about it and then ensure that the people or the citizenry is safe?
Yes, second question, number 2. No, you were the last.
Oh, the first.
No, you were the 4th and 5th.
So, yeah, my name is Papizda. I work with SciFM.
Please again.
Papizda.
Right.
Yes.
Papizda. Can you spell it for me?
PAPISDAFF.
All right.
Yeah. The former boss for the NPA, Moses Asaga, says a survey he conducted, Accra can no longer contain any more fuel stations or gas stations. Is that a position the MPA also holds? And also, the African Center for Energy Policy says that there's a need for audit, not just for the operators, but also for the regulators, NPA, EPA. Are you willing to submit to an external audit of your operations?
Please, you asked the question to NPA, not EPA.
No.
So we can say we respond. So if you say EPA, we respond.
No, EPA is included.
Yeah, just
the all stakeholders.
EPA. Yeah, EPA.
So let's get to EPA. Yeah, Nama. Yeah.
Yes, following the gas explosion disaster, I'm not familiar with following the gas explosion disaster, I came to the Tower Country Planning and Local Government Service. I wanted to know various steps or measures that they have instituted over the years to reduce some of these disasters. And during interviews with officials of these bodies, what I realized was that that's at the Local Government Service and the Tower Country Planning. One accusation they made against NPA was that very often most of these owners of fueling stations, LPG gas filling station and fuel station, very often because of the land tenant system we have in the country, they are able to secure obtain permits from NPA, and very often they start construction of their project even before the assemblies become aware. That they are able to outsmart the assemblies. I want to know from you, if you're out there, I just want you to spell out some of the challenges you've had to curtail the proliferation of some of these stations. You raised the issue of proliferation, so I want to know.
In fact, are you talking about the filling station, fuel, petrol, station or the gas?
I mean both.
Yeah, please.
Excuse me, what is happening is, one thing they said was, very often when they are constructing these facilities, what they do is, the owners themselves sometimes stop work. You know, a step taken by the local assemblies. But they themselves do it to outsmart agencies like you. And I want to know, do you have measures in terms of the permits, NPA and other bodies grant to this fuel station without consulting you?
Please. Yeah, thank you.
Case like Ghanaian Times, I want to find out when in earnest are you going to start? I'm asking when are you going to start in earnest? I want to know when are you going to start investigation?
Yes. No, you were there. No, he was.
He was not part.
No, he was. He's coming and I will come.
My question has to do with His Excellency the President, in the wake of this unfortunate incident, made mention that this should happen no more. And I want to know what the EPA is doing and immediate steps that the EPA is taking to kind of implement what His Excellency the President has said. And then secondly, if you look at judges and lawyers in the Ghanaian Court of Public Opinion, they've already sentenced the EPA that they don't do much. They don't see EPA, they don't feel EPA. It is only when disaster strikes. That is why we see, we sense and feel the EPA. What is your reaction to that?
Thank you very much. Please.
I think it's just...
We're taking it out of you, just repeat it. Emphasize it. Emphasize it, just repeat it.
It's your criticism, we say to them that you are being reactive instead of being proactive. It's only when the natural disaster before you hear from you. And also, are you going to push for a law, since you say there's an absence of a law? Are you going to push for a law?
Thank you very much. Very relevant questions. We answer them and then we go to the next five. But we'll be wrapping up soon. So, Mr. David.
Let me clear one thing about the law. In fact, in the absence of the law, we have the guidelines. Well, this is that's fine. That'll be fine. But for now, this is what we are looking at. So in the absence of guidelines, I mean, as I said, we'll make copies to some of you. So this is what is currently guiding us. So there's something, it's a working document that we are using. And then there's another question on this, that donors, somebody said, is it Ghana, local government service. They said that they obtained, I can tell you that is never true. And I said I can give you a typical file. There is no way EPA will issue a permit without an approval from the district assembly. No way. It has never happened. Let me also tell you, something happened in Amasaman, if you remember, the Kukwase funeral home. Do you remember? The assembly, the MCE said they knew nothing about it then. Meanwhile, their letter, so we had later produced a letter to them. So it can never happen that you issue a permit without the assembly knowing. It can, I'm telling you, as a fact, it's a lie.
The proponent.
Yeah. What I said, they are accusing the MPA that the owners go directly to the MPA, secure the permits.
Well, then it's not EPA permit.
No,
He's informing.
Okay.
He's informing us.
Very often they start the project in advance.
Yeah,
so they don't consult the EPA and the MPA. And I want to know from you, is that a challenge? That's probably undermining your capacity to strictly enforce the law. Because the owners go directly to the MPA, and once they get it from the highest authority, they go ahead with their project.
Well, again, I'm aware that before MPA will issue a development permit, they will rely on a permit from EPA. That is the procedure. So I don't know where that information is coming from.
So we've taken note, and then we would look at it. Thank you.
Yeah, please let me. This time I will not react. My friend from Times, I will not react to your statement for you to tell me that EPA we are reactive. You understand? No.
GBC Radio.
IGBC. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I thought that after having taken pressmen through the procedures, you would have helped us to even despair this idea of EPA being reactive rather than being proactive. You see, after taking you through the procedure, it is clear that we go through certain procedures up to the point of those activities of having to sell the product to the public. And therefore, it is not true that we sit on the fence only to react when the disaster occurs. So please, it is totally false.
It's a fallacy.
It's a fallacy.
Including myself.
Yeah, so help us to dispel that assumption. Please.
The press is also reactive.
Yes, yes.
You're also reactive because this issue was
address the incumbent here.
Yes.
I have the floor.
Yes. So you see, like my friend, please go on.
They are reactive. Yes.
I think we're here to solve a problem. And as the executive director mentioned earlier, this is a very solemn thing. I mean, people have died. And let's move ahead and see how best you could help EPA to solve these problems. When we start closing them down, when we start clamping them down, nobody should read the politics into it. Please, nobody should read politics into it. So don't worry. The executive director mentioned that we're going to do a risk assessment and audit of all facilities. Risk assessment, he mentioned that. And so you should help us. We give you the information and you relay to the people for us. We cannot go everywhere. EPA has 200 technical staff, 200 nationwide. So please tell the government to open the floodgate for us to employ your brothers and sisters who are engineers, who are planners, and who are media personnel to come and help us, please. Hammer that into the ears of government, and you will see the wonders. Miracles will happen.
Thank you. Let me indicate that. And there was a question that EPA is is only felt when disaster strikes. But that is not true. Maybe bad news sell. I'm sure some of you know the contribution that we've made when it comes to the oil and gas. I'm sure you are aware. You are also aware of this boundary issue between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Nobody is ready to congratulate EPA.
No, because we haven't. It is EPA's testimony that won the case.
Maybe we are not making the noise.
Yes,
but
we are not making the noise.
We are doing a lot, and we have done a lot. So please, it's not only, well, it's just bad news. That's why people think that when disaster strikes, then it is said bad.
Anyway, thank you very much. Can we answer our questions and then, but please.
There are questions that we have to answer.
The questions that has not been answered. Can we answer the questions, please?
Okay. Yes, go
ahead.
Go
ahead.
If you have an answer to the question.
Yes, actually, there is a question about, yes, when are we starting the investigation? Actually, the investigation has already started because, like our executive director said, we were there the whole of Sunday when His Excellency the Vice President came, and when we came back, there is a committee in place. We have the plans to invite, the MAMSCO operator and the driver and the mate who actually made that thing happen. And from there, we'll get a first-hand information, and that is where everything begins. So I'll let assure my brother from Ghanaian Times that action has already been started. The press will be giving the feedback thereafter. Thank you.
There was a question about the audit of our
and the law, and to push for a law.
I think that audits help. They are meant to make us better. So we are open to that. I don't believe that audits are there to kill anybody. The intention of conducting an audit is to improve upon your performance, fix areas that you need to fix. So we are open to that process. There's this second one about the fact that the city is saturated. That is information that you are releasing to us now. And if the documentation is available, we'll take that into account. And that will guide our decisions. You can't just say, oh, the city is saturated by just looking at it. If there's some study that he said is carried out, we don't have access to it as of now. We'll also go after it and see what we can do with that information. And then the issue about the law, we have the guidelines. Certainly, we need to move beyond that. So, one of the things that you can also do for us is to look at the guidelines and then make suggestions to us. And in the process of developing the law, certainly there will be that engagement with all the stakeholder groups, and we can all come out with the law that there's a lawyer here.
The legal
point about guidelines is in the absence of the law. The guidelines supplement the law. Once the guidelines and standards are gazetted, actually they become part of the law. So it isn't like there is a total vacuum here. It's in the absence of any amendments to the law which will be pursued in future. The guidelines which are here and which is under review can supplement the law. All we have to do is go ahead and then gazette these guidelines because then we supplement the gaps in the law. No. Is the guidelines are operational. All we have to do is to still undergoing review. So once the review is completed,
officials of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, there answering questions being posed them by the news media, of course, here in the capital. But it's now time for us to make way for The Pulse with Gifty Anwapia. My name is Daniel Daze. Keep watching Joy News.